Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video here. It's been a while since I've made a topic talk kind of video for you guys, so I figured I'd do something that's kind of out of my depths and something I've never tackled before, and a video that I want to do more of in the future, but, I feel like it's kind of a special occasion type thing. I finished Marvel's Spider-Man 1, Marvel's Miles Morales Spider-Man game, and I've also played Marvel's Spider-Man 2, so I figured having all of that universe kind of in my head and just kind of like ready at, with my knowledge of it. I'm not going to know everything, I'm not going to talk about just completely everything with you guys here just in the video for the sake of the video, but I feel like now is the perfect time to hop into a tier list like this. So I'm going to be ranking every single character that is more of a major character within these games. And I'm also going to add in a couple of like the crime groups. For example, like the demons, you got the Magia, or like Fisk's gang. I'm going to add the groups of enemies, kind of the atmosphere that you get from them, and just how well I think that they fit in the game, and if they belong or not. So, and before anybody gets mad at me, this is my opinion. I can have whatever opinion I want. So go ahead and hate me if you don't like what I gotta say, okay? But this is my opinion, this is my tier list, this is my channel, I'm gonna say whatever I want to say. So, I'm just gonna do it in the order that I am seeing all of these images, starting with the Prowler. Now, honestly, man, the Prowler in these games, I want to say he was introduced in Miles Morales' game, and he was a phenomenal character to kind of help Miles grow as a character as well. There's a lot of his kind of impact in the newer Spider-Man 2 game, because there's like his tech stashes that he has around the city that you gotta go and collect. He still talks to Miles a lot, and I feel like he's a huge piece to Miles' character. But if I'm going to go off just his character arc alone, I really do like the guy a lot. I'm not like, it's not like an S tier suit per se, like his suit design, but I do like his suit design. I think he's really, really cool. I think I'm going to go ahead and put him at the upper B tier. And as I rank things, by the way, guys, I'm going to be moving a lot around as I put guys in here, because this is the first time I've ever done this. So that's where I'm going to put him for that. Next up, we have one of my all-time favorite Spider-Man villains, specifically because he was one of the first villains that Spider-Man ever faced. We have the Vulture, or Adrian Toomes. Now, throughout the games, just like how he was in the comics, this guy has cancer, and he basically is using tech to try kind of steal from people that's kind of done wrong to him throughout his life. I think that at least in the Insomniac universe, and that's what I'm ranking off of right here, right? So I think that they actually nailed this guy. I love the banter between him and Spider-Man. In the Miles Morales game, you get to use him as like a training protocol type thing. Craven actually, obviously, spoiler alert, if you haven't played the new game, this dude's dead. But honestly, guys, I love the Vulture so much as a character. I love the banter that he has with Spider-Man in these games. It's really, really fun to watch. I really do think, I think it's top of A tier. I really think it's top of A tier. It could creep into S tier, maybe, but I'm gonna put it there for now. Next, we have Rhino. Now, Rhino is a really, really cool villain. He's always been just like this big hunk guy that's kind of just almost like the Juggernaut from the X-Men, right? Once he gets going, you can't stop him. He's just this immovable mass that you just can't stop him. That nothing else to say. You just can't stop the dude. Now, with that being said, Rhino as a character itself, I just don't think has a lot of, there's not much deeper thinking going on with this guy, right? He's just running into things. I love how they used him in Miles Morales' game when they kind of had Peter get taken out by him while he was just destroying everything. I love that Roxxon kind of gave him this crazy upgrade against Miles, so where Miles really had to unlock his like Venom abilities to be able to come through and actually take the guy out in the end. I think that was a huge learning curve for Miles, so yeah, and just in the comics and everything, every piece of media I've seen Rhino in, I think that he is just a really, really cool villain. I think he belongs on a team like the Sinister Six, and honestly, I think I'm gonna put him. I think we're gonna go with B. I don't think he has anything up on the Prowler, to be honest with you, but he is an amazing villain, a super, super fun villain. One of the ones that, like, when they come up in missions, I'm like, oh god, yeah, like I've been waiting for this. You know what I mean? So he's gonna go there, B tier for now. Next. Done. I absolutely love Tombstone. I don't know what it is, but since like the Spectacular Spider-Man and onward, every time, you know what, I can't even say that, because even back in the 90s animated TV show, I'll go ahead and grab the pop. You guys know the TV show, right? You guys better know it, because if you don't know that, you better know that, okay? Okay? The 90s animated TV show. This isn't even the exact right pop, but it's pretty damn close, okay? Eventually, I will be talking about that show with you guys, just so you guys know. But I think from that point on, just as a kid growing up, something about this guy is just so menacing. He doesn't really feel pain. His skin, I mean, the first cutscene that we see with this guy, he forces one of his henchmen to shoot him in the forehead with a gun, point blank. Yeah, point blank. And I love this guy, man. And I think it's so cool that in the second game, he's given this redemption act. Like, they go to the carnival, and this guy's there, and they see him, and they're like, okay, Tombstone's working here, like, this is probably not good. But he actually is, like, helping people. He has respect for Spider-Man. He really does. He respects it all. And I don't know, man, I just love this character. I think that Insomniac, like, really did a good job with this guy and kind of made him a deeper... Because, like, Tombstone does understand things on a deeper level as a character within any media that he's ever been in, if you guys didn't know. Like, especially, like, Spectacular Spider-Man. He's a bad guy, but there's layers to him. There's a lot of layers to this guy. He knows what he's doing. He's very, very intelligent. Just an awesome villain, awesome Spider-Man character, anti-hero, whatever you want to call him. I still say he's a villain more than a hero, but maybe not an anti-hero, but you guys get what I'm saying. Cool-ass guy. Definitely belongs in S tier for me. Next up, we have Taskmaster. Now, I really didn't know who Taskmaster was until I got into Spider-Man 1. Now, this guy was really, really cool addition. I think he was also in the Black Widow movie. I've talked about that just a little bit with you guys, but Insomniac did this guy right. He comes up with these challenges that, you know, he watches over Spider-Man, he learns his moves. The thing about Taskmaster, if you guys didn't know, is he basically can look at anybody one time and replicate everything they can do, even if it's like superpower-wise. He can pull up in human form and just do it. Like, he could just do whatever it is. Like, Cap throwing a shield, ricochet back to him. This dude's just gonna grab a shield, throw it, ricochet back to him. Like, he understands everything, like, on a different level. This character's really, really cool. I like him a lot. I don't think that he's a very iconic Spider-Man villain, in my opinion. Where do I put Taskmaster? I think that Taskmaster is cooler than the Prowler, to be honest. I don't think he deserves to be an A tier necessarily, because I feel like there's other villains that I really like a little bit more. But I'm going to put him here. It's really cool. I like his fights, too. You have to dodge his attacks and kind of learn how to play against yourself in a way. So it's really, really cool for showing growth as a player as you play throughout the game. And it just makes you use more gadgets and moves that you never really, like, needed to use beforehand. So, cool character, going to be top B for now. Now, the next guy that's on this list, guys, is going to be Carnage / Cletus Cassidy. Now, Carnage hasn't really been shown yet, so I'm going to kind of combine these two as one. I think that Cletus is really cool. When they first initially announced the Flame, I was kind of confused, like, to what they were going to go and, like, the direction they were going to go with this guy. I didn't know it was going to be Cletus. When I first heard the cult guys talking, though, in the missions in Spider-Man 2, I kind of assumed that it had something to do with some crazy guy. Like, it sounded like a delusional serial killer type of vibe, so I was thinking that way. But when I finally saw the guy and, you know, we're looking at him here in the game, I'm like, that's not, like, crazy comic accurate. It's pretty damn close. I still like the character. I still think it's cool. I think the fact that him and Yuri have a relationship in the universe is kind of unique. It kind of makes you want to learn more about him. So I think for now, because we haven't seen enough of him, and I didn't really, you know, feel like a strong pull towards him in Spider-Man 2, even though he was, you know, in a majority of these missions and everything, I think that he's going to go in C tier for me, along with the Carnage symbiote, which I'll put a little bit above him, because if that thing gets shown in any of the DLCs for this game, oh my god, I'm down. Alright, next we have another great Spider-Man villain, character, whatever you want to say, with Curtis Connors, or the Lizard. Now, I am not a big fan of ginormous lizard boss fights in every single iteration of the Spider-Man game that has ever came out ever. But what I will say is the first transformation that we get to see with the Lizard, they nailed the comic accurate, like, lab coat, purple pants type look. It was so cool to get to see that in the beginning. I knew that it was obviously going to head towards a giant lizard fight because we could see it in the trailer. But I think that, like, even Dr. Connors as a character here, the fact that, like, he loses his arm from the symbiote, like, grabbing him, like, I thought that was crazy. I was like, well, that's how he lost his arm in this universe? Like, that's sick. So, I can't really knock the giant lizard fights in this game specifically, because they did the Venom, they did the black suit Spider-Man getting super angry, so they kind of needed a big, just bulky monster that was, like, not even like the Rhino, right? Like, the Rhino would just get thrown around and be like, hey, stop, you know, something weird like that. But, like, just a monster to fight. Like, we needed that to get Spider-Man to be, like, at his angriest for this story to work. I think that they did everything they needed to do with this character. I love that he was really resistant to turn into the Lizard. Obviously, that's kind of a part of his character tropes. But I don't know, man. I just really like the story behind this guy in this game quite a bit, honestly. I really do. I think I'm going to put him in A tier. I don't think that he's as cool as the Vulture. If we got to see more of, like, the lab code and stuff, which, to be honest, I think they've done the Lizard a lot lately. They don't really need to keep going into it. I think that Insomniac used it in the exact way they needed to, and I think that it just really elevated the story for sure. So he's gonna go A. Alright, no hate if I don't say her name right, but I think it's Danica. I know that she's the podcast, I think, in Miles Morales game, and then she also, I want to say, comes back here and there for the Spider-Man 2 game. I think she's really cool. It's kind of like a playoff of J. Jonah Jameson, which I think is really cool because people, I feel like the more people that you have in these stories, right, that are like humans that see it from our point of view and talk about things, you know, that kind of basically like keep it grounded in a sense, right? And I think that she's actually like a really good character in this story to even bring in like a younger audience. I want to say, like, you can, like, her character design, you know, the hippie kind of words that she's using in a sense. I think it brings a different vibe than J. Jonah Jameson as this like older guy that's screaming at, you know, screaming in the mic constantly. I think she really compliments him well when she comes up, and I enjoyed her throughout the story. There was never a point where I was like, this girl's annoying. But she's also not like the most interesting character, I would say. So for me, it's not bad, but I think she's gonna go. Top of C. I think even over Carnage. And you guys are gonna be like, yo, Carnage is way cooler, but like we haven't seen him yet. At the time of making this video, I don't know much. You know, we don't know much. So there you go. The Chameleon is next. Now, this guy was kind of teased at the end of Marvel Spider-Man 2 as Kraven's brother, and I really like the Chameleon. I really, really like the Chameleon. I was very confused why when we were going around doing these hunter drone searches, when they would figure out these identities that were like missing or whatever, and it just none of it was really working out throughout the game, and you're kind of just like, what's going on? I don't know. I like Spider-Man comics, but I wasn't into it enough to know that it was gonna be Chameleon throughout the game. But the fact of like us seeing him watch like Spider-Man swing away towards the end, that's pretty cool, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think that they honestly did him a lot better than they even did just all of the people that are in C here. I don't even think that he belongs in C. I haven't seen much of him. Like, if Carnage would have popped out, like I said, and did something and said something crazy, or like we got a sneak peek of that, it would have been sick. That's basically what they did, and they accomplished it with Chameleon, which I like because we've had Carnage a lot. We don't see Chameleon. We really don't. So I'm gonna put him in bottom of B for now. I really like the character a lot, and I'm excited to see him in the next game. Next, we have my boy, the dog. You guys gonna hate me for that? I don't think so. Black Cat. Oh boy. The first time I ever got to know Black Cat was in Spider-Man Friend or Foe. That game was just god tier, man. Absolutely god tier. Black Cat is very interesting in this game. She has a lot of backstory. In the first game, it was a lot more just kind of like, hey, catch me type thing. Which is cool. That's kind of like her, that's her character, right? Her and Spider-Man. But I think that even in this next, like this second game with her meeting Miles and using the Doctor Strange portals, I mean, I think that was just a humongous highlight in the game for me. I don't know about you guys, but honestly, man, I'm not even like I'm not like a hater of Black Cat, but I'm not the craziest fan of her. I'm not like, yo, I cannot wait for Black Cat to be in this or that. Honestly, though, I do wish, I really hope she's going to be in the next Tom Holland movie. I don't know if anyone else is hoping that too, but like I could see that. I would love that. In this universe, though, I think they did her masterfully. I've got nothing but good things to say about her. And honestly, I think that her character, just because she's more around the story for a longer time, even than the Vulture, I know that, you know what? That's tough. That is tough, because the Vulture, like, we don't see him a lot, but just with the banter that we hear between him and Spider-Man, like, I think Black Cat's below Vulture, and I think it's just because we don't see as much with the Vulture, and I still think that the Vulture is, like, that relationship's there, man. Like, I think it's been built, because obviously he's, like, one of the first guys Spider-Man faced, but, I don't know, man. Vulture's just sick. I'm gonna put Black Cat in A tier, that's fine. Now, this was one, guys, right here, that I thought I was going to hate in this game, I'm not gonna lie. I was very, very worried. I did not know where they were going with the direction of this. I wasn't sure I liked the character design with the hair and just his personality with the crystals that you have to collect in Spider-Man 2. But god damn, was that boss fight amazing. Frick, man. I think just because they went so above and beyond with that boss fight, I would normally put him in an A. I just love that. I mean, bro, getting flung across the city the way that you do, like, I think he's an S tier guy. Like, at least at this point, because Like, bro, I just don't have words. If you play the game, you understand, right? Like, I don't know, man. Sandman's fucking sick. Alright, the next two that we have are kind of within Miles Morales' like core support group, and I really, really like them. Genki, to start off with, is basically Ned in the Spider-Man, the MCU Spider-Man. You know, it's basically Ned. It's the guy in the chair. I really, really like him. I think that he's definitely better than Danica for sure. And he helps Miles a lot. He's always there to talk to him and just being a good friend. And honestly, like, I've had some good friends in my life, and they've done the same for me. So even though he's not like the most, you know, in the most impactful moments in the story, without him, a lot of the little things just don't add up. So I want to say Genki is just underneath the Prowler in terms of supportiveness and cool, but I do think he's a little bit behind the Rhino because, God, the Rhino was just so sick, man. Come on. And then next we have Haley. Haley is super sick, man. I'm not gonna lie, I liked a lot of the missions that we had with her. I think there was like a couple, if I'm being correct. There might even have only been one. But I thought it was really, really, really cool that they added in points in the game where the audio would just cut out because she's deaf. And it really puts you into kind of her shoes and her perspective of what's going on. You can kind of see why art and spray painting and, you know, doing all of that, you know, graphic type of stuff is she's drawn to it, right? Because it's kind of like this, it's almost like Daredevil in a sense, where like the senses that she does have left are just heightened to another level. And I think that her and Miles work really well. I think it's a really cute relationship. I think that she's a little bit better than Genki, even though Genki's there more often and kind of been his boy for forever. I think that Haley is going to turn out to be one of the best like love interests for Miles Morales. Almost like a Mary Jane for Spider-Man, for Peter. Next, oh boy, I'm sorry, but if you put, if Venom is not an S tier for anyone in these games, like, what are you doing? This boy is crazy. Like, there's just not enough good things to say. The way that the tendrils looked, the way that he wanted to take over the city. I like that slowly as he's kind of like chilling with you, like obviously when you're going around the game with the symbiote, like there's a certain point that I can remember that literally is just like stuck in my brain, right? And it's when, I can't remember exactly who it was, but Spider-Man was chasing, I want to say it's Kraven, but he's chasing him and he's like talking all this shit, you know, because he's mad and the symbiote's affecting him emotionally, which again isn't really from the original comics of Venom. That wasn't like a thing that Venom had, but over time that kind of became like a character trope for him, which some people hate, some people like. I'm kind of in the middle of it. I would have liked for him to just be his own person, but I do like how Venom kind of gets mad and stuff, like it's, you know, I don't know. But when Tony Todd says kill him, when he finally comes in with the voice and finally says something and he says kill him, and like he keeps saying it throughout while you're, you know, playing as like a black suited Spider-Man, bro, that's just dark. That's just dark, man. I love it. Next, we have Harry Osborn. Now, a lot of people hate the fact that, like, he's Venom and just the way that things played out, but, like, dude, they've built this man up. Like, when you play this game, play Spider-Man 2, then go back and play Spider-Man 1. And every time that Spider-Man Peter is swinging around in that first game, and he's like, man, I wonder what this is doing with Harry. But every time you go to do one of those research stations, or you're just swinging around and Peter's like, you know, talking about Harry and just like, I hope my buddy's okay, and this, that, the other. Like, those little things just kind of like, oh yeah, he's not in this game, so he's going to mention it, you know, because Harry's like a big part of Spider-Man, right? People cannot sit here and say that he did not get built up like crazy. The character arc is there. Like, the fact that he was missing works so well. Like, it just works because he was really sick, right? And like, it makes all of his desires and his passions in this game a lot easier to see. And, like, even when Venom is completely, like, taking control over Harry and, like, Harry killed somebody, spoiler alert, at the end of it, Harry's like, just, like, kill me, man. He's like, if you don't stop it, it's going to take over. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that Harry in this game is just a diamond in the rough. I don't know if I'm going to put him in S tier because like, I'm thinking A tier, but then I'm thinking back to, like, the missions that we get where we get to see Peter as a kid learning how to be Spider-Man. The haircut that's almost exactly from, like, some of the comics that he's in, man. Oh, my God. I personally think that Harry's S tier. I don't think he's as cool as, like, the Sandman scene, but I really, really, really enjoyed everything that they had to offer with this guy. And, yeah, I'm not sure if we're going to see more of him in the next game, if it's going to be that big of a deal. I do think that him and Norman are going to have some type of issue, you know, one of them. they're gonna have an issue in this next game. I think we know what we're all thinking here. But S tier, I think he deserves it. I really do. Next, we have a very underrated villain, in my opinion, in these games. It's just one of the most... It's almost like the Vulture in a sense, and it's almost exactly like the Vulture. When we see him as the first villain in the first game, I guess the second villain, because first we had the Kingpin, but when we see the Shocker, and he's robbing the bank, and he's talking, and he's running around, jumping, throwing cars, doing all the fun stuff, and then we're webbing him up, we get him captured, then he comes back, robs another bank, and then we web him up, and then he gets loose, you know, that whole thing. I love it. I love him in this game. I love him in you know, every iteration. I really see the Shocker and I like, but I think that this is my favorite version. I really do think this is my favorite version of the Shocker. I think that they did him perfectly. I honestly think that the Shocker is right up there with the Vulture. Like, I think that because the Vulture is the first villain that Spider-Man really faces, other than, I think, the Chameleon, I think he's right underneath there. I think he's, like, literally right there, man. I really do. Now, like or hate the campiness with this character, Jefferson Davis is just a straight baller, man. This guy doesn't take anything from anybody. His character is just perfect, and it's almost like not like what he does necessarily that like drives his character, but it's like everything that he does drives Miles. And I'm not one to like want Peter to like not be the main Spider-Man, you know, in the future and things going forward, or I'm not one to want to, like, I'm very biased when it comes to Peter being Spider-Man, because for me, that's my Spider-Man, right? And Miles is right there. He's kind of like this new generation's Spider-Man, right? I'll get to it a little bit more. I'll talk about that when I get to Miles himself. But, dude, this guy is just crazy. I want to say that he's an S tier. I think that he's going to be kind of at the lower end of S tier because he's, like, right in between the two. But just an amazing character. I think they nailed everything to do with him, and it just builds so much for him and for everybody that's around him. J. Jonah Jameson. Now, this guy in literally every piece of media I absolutely love. I love the voice actor for this game, for the games that he's been in. The only thing that I'm not the hugest fan on, honestly, is just the look. I think that the hair and the mustache is there, the clothes are there, but I just don't think whoever modeled this guy, it's not enough. It's not as comic accurate as I would like to see personally. When you got someone like J.K. Simmons, who just absolutely destroys the role every time talking, either if you just hear his voice or you see him. When he's bald and he's in the MCU, he's great. Like, that guy just absolutely destroys the role itself. So, because I think that there's such a good version of him out there, and even like the 90s animated TV show was an amazing cast. I really liked him in that show too. I think that and J.K. Simmons is kind of like hand in hand, right? So I want to say he's going to definitely be above some of these other supporting characters, but I want to put him in B tier. And there's a lot of great things that, you know, he kind of like sticks out in. There's like a spider bot that's right next to, I want to say, like some of his stuff, and it's really funny. But I don't feel that there's enough visually for me to put him any higher than this. I love the character though in the comics, and they did a great job with him, but the only thing is they didn't like revolve the plot or story around him necessarily. He was there talking in the background to get you, give you that little vibe, but not enough to kind of, accelerate him up to the higher tiers. Next, we have Hammerhead. Now, Hammerhead's kind of like Tombstone in a sense, where like I've always kind of feared the guy, but he's like a henchman. He's always like the guy underneath Tombstone, and it's not really too, concerning, but what I gotta say is the DLC that this guy is, involved with, guys, is just one of the creepiest but like coolest things ever, man. Like, he gets upgraded armor throughout the DLC, and by the end of it, this dude's just a fucking cyborg. You're fighting the Terminator, bro, and like a giant Terminator. I literally remember playing that DLC. Once I got through the entire DLC, I went back and played it again 2 more times so that I could say that I played it 3 fucking times. That's how cool it was, okay? Hammerhead in the comics is sick. I love Hammerhead, and I want to say it's just Hammerhead, but I love him in like Spider-Man Noir. I know that Hammerhead is a really big piece to that story, and his kind of, that's kind of hand in hand. I think that that's really cool, but other than that, just Hammerhead as an individual is not like lackluster, but he's just there, right? Whereas in this game, they took it to something that's just insane. And I don't even think that it's like a bad insane. I think it's a really cool insane. I think it elevates him as a character. And honestly, I want to say that I want to put him at like the top of B, man. Like, I feel like he's kind of better than Taskmaster, to be honest, just because he's so much of a more of a threat. So top of B. Oh boy, this guy. I don't know. to be honest, I've not seen anyone else's like rankings. I don't even know if anyone's done videos on like ranking characters, but I might want to check it out because I think that this guy doesn't get as much love as he should. But Scorpion for me, man, I don't know what it is about this like Scorpion I like so much. I think Scorpion's better than Venom, bro. I like Scorpion the most, man. I don't know what it is. I think when we see him kind of coming out of the raft and they're moving the prisoners, and the cop, like, he looks back at the cop and then like flicks the tail real fast, and the cop's like, and he starts like chuckle, bro. I don't know what it is. That last game when he was really, really good, but I think that they just kind of like upgraded it to another level. I know that we didn't see him a ton, but like I think that Insomniac's universe of this guy just made him such an elite, like such an elite villain, man. He's faster than Spider-Man. He's stronger than Spider-Man, if you didn't know. The only reason that this guy doesn't just absolutely cakewalk a ton of people is because he's mentally like not all the way there, obviously. Like if you start calling this guy names, that's gonna be his downfall, which is crazy. But like, God, dude, I love the character in this game. I love how they viewed him in Spider-Man 2. Like, they made him so much more menacing than even in the first game. You know, and then he dies, like, which makes Kraven look fucking sick, man. It makes Kraven look sick. So I don't know, man. For me, I can't lie to myself. I love the character in this universe especially, but I love him in the 90s animated TV show. I think he's really, really cool. It's really, really cool that his origin story comes from J. Jonah Jameson creating him to try to stop Spider-Man as a hero, but then that's when he goes mad with the Scorpion and everything. I just think that it's so sick, man. It's such a sick idea. I like the origins. I like everything about him. And it's going to be top of S for now. Alright, next, a controversial one, I want to say, with Martin Lee. I do like his redemption arc in this game. I think that it really does make his story kind of come to a close. If you guys don't remember, in the original game, when we go into Martin Lee's office, there is a yin-yang type puzzle that you have to solve. And the whole thing about him is Mr. Negative, right? Like, there's this really positive side that works at Feast, the Feast Center, with Aunt May, and then there's also this super negative part, right? They just don't mesh, and he's able to kind of hold on to one of them for a very long time, but obviously the Mr. Negative part's kind of like there and there. I think that he adds a ton to the new game, and I'm glad that they gave him a redemption arc. I kind of like knew it was coming. I think that we all did. So it's a great end to his story, but I do think that as a character, I can't put him too high because I almost, I read it like a book. I was like, yeah, this dude's gonna be hated, and then he's gonna end up becoming like a savior, or he's gonna kind of end up being that good energy that we actually need in the end. So it was really cool to see, but the fact that I could just call it gonna happen before I even had the game in my hands, it's gonna be a little bit lower for me, I think. I think that he's still great, though. I think I'm gonna put him at bottom of A tier for now. Alright, guys, next we have Scream, which is Mary Jane with the Venom symbiote on. I'm glad that they put it in the game because there's a lot of fans that really mess with this character. I think the design is sick. I think it's really cool. But I think that the dialogue that you get while you're fighting from Peter to MJ is kind of rough. I feel like it's just completely forced in a sense. It's like, I haven't played Suicide Squad yet, Kill the Justice League, because I know what happened, and I know how the game, like, I know the structure of the game. I'm never gonna play that game. Batman did not die in that game, okay? Fuck that game. That game doesn't exist. But what I will say is, I got vibes from, because I've watched videos on it, right? I've got vibes of like, it's almost like this like annoying dialogue, like, in a sense. Like, I don't know what it is, but, and I understand that the symbiote's like kind of like altering her thoughts and making it super negative and like being like, oh, you don't care, and like, I get that, and I'm glad that she's in the game, but I don't think it's very impactful. I think it's good for the character of MJ and just the relationship of MJ and Peter, because she gets to see how it was taking control of Peter, and she can kind of feel exactly what he was feeling to make him act so crazy and reckless and rude and just an asshole and all of that. So I think that there is merit to why it's in the game. I think it's cool that they added it in the game, but I don't think it's anything super special. If I had to put it anywhere, I think it goes right behind the Rhino, or right before J. Jonah Jameson, right there in the B tier. Next, we have a boy that I really do enjoy, guys. It is Electro. Electro is a sick villain. I love the lightning scar on his face that kind of gives him this comic accurate look. He has this green, vest that Doc Ock gives him, and kind of makes him as close to just unlimited energy that he could ever be. I like his design. I think that he is the instigator for creating the Sinister Six. Not like creating the Sinister Six, but like creating the atmosphere and giving that story. Like Spider-Man swinging through, going through into the raft and finding the Sinister Six at the top of it at the end. I think all of that is all due and all, you know, credit given to Electro. It's honestly really cool to see a villain like this in one of these games, because I never was able to play and enjoy him in the older games like Spider-Man Enter Electro. But just him being a character, guys, where he is just literally unstoppable if he really wants to be. The only downfall he has, in a sense, is his ego, and he lets things kind of get to him, in a sense, and he wants to just be this insane powerhouse, but he does have the capability to do so. He's one of the most dangerous Spider-Man villains out there for sure. And as much as people want to hate on him in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and just the way that he looked and everything, you know, that's not the best. It's not the best movie ever. It's an amazing movie, don't get me wrong. I love the movie. I love it a lot. I'm not the hugest fan of it myself, the design of him, but like, you can't lie, when Spider-Man and Electro fight in that movie, if you can just take apart, if you can just envision that all of those fights through comic panels and just imagine what it would be like they nailed everything, man. Like in this game they did too, right? They gave someone with so much power such a huge position. I love him, but I don't think his character has enough growth, really, to be honest with you, to kind of surpass anyone else in A tier. He's going to be bottom of the A tier for now. Alrighty, next we have Aunt May. This girl got the dog in her. That's all I'm going to say. I absolutely love Aunt May in all of these games. I'm not going to lie to you guys. She is obviously the centerpiece for Spider-Man, for Peter growing up. I love that they give more flashbacks to her. I didn't expect actually to see more of her in the Spider-Man 2 game. And I mean, like, that makes sense, right? Because she kind of passed away towards the end of the first game. And I think all of us probably shed a tear or two for her, because she was just such an impactful piece. Had so much to do and so much impact on so many characters throughout I almost said movie, but it really is a movie, right? Like, these games are a game in a sense, but it's like watching a movie. It's so good, and it's so, you know, introspective, and it's able to go in and out of cutscenes it's just so seamless. It literally is a movie, and I think that she honestly deserves to be at the top of S tier, even over Scorpion, even over Venom. I love Tombstone. Sandman's cool, but like, I really think that Aunt May is just perfect. Like, they couldn't have written her any better. She's my favorite version of Aunt May at this point, and I don't think that's going to change for a long time, to be honest with you. Next, we have whatever this suit is. Now, as much hate as he gets for this suit and this Adidas, you know, whatever you want to call it, if you take that apart, now there's a lot more updates that have came out in the game. I've yet to play it myself. It came out, I want to believe, like a day or two ago. But you can change the suit. You don't have to wear the suit at the end of the game if you don't like the suit, okay? So don't get on me. Miles Morales in this game, like I was kind of hinting at earlier, is I have a bias towards, this is Spider-Man, this is Miles Morales, right? No matter how much bias I have for my boy, they built, like, and people are always talking about, like, yo, they nerfed Peter in this game. In the second game, they just nerfed him. He's, you know, he can't fight people, he can't figure things out, blah, 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 like, whatever it is. But, like, bro, I don't see that. I really don't. These villains are dangerous, bro. Peter's been doing this for years. He's tired. Like, he's gonna lose fights here and there. Freaking Miles was losing fights. Miles got launched across the city against Sandman. Like, Miles has more power than Spider-Man, like, than Peter does. And he has the exact same moral compass, but he's younger, and he's in his prime. Like, it makes sense that this boy can kind of outdo Peter. It makes sense. And by all means, I don't really want Peter to be just gone in the third game. I think he's going to come back. I've heard there was a tweet, I can't remember the guy's name, but one of the guys that created the game that was kind of working with it was saying that as much as Peter wants to take a break and sees and trusts in Miles, like, Peter's going to have to come back for some reason. I think we all know what that reason is. But Miles Morales in this game, I have to put it S tier. I can't hate on it. I love this. And I love the Across the Spider-Verse version of Miles, and I think that Miles is honestly what this generation needs. They need to tell this story with this guy, and it has nothing to do about race. It has nothing to do about these hippie haircut that people want to get, you know, talk crap about. Like, it has nothing to do with anything like that. Like, this character is written so well. Him, and I'm just gonna go ahead and skip over to this while I'm talking about it, but Rio Morales with Jefferson Davis. I mean, I think Rio is better after Jefferson died. Like, I think that Rio is such a good character with the support. I think that Rio, Jefferson, and Miles together elevate so much of this game, and it's just like I have no words to explain it to you guys, but I loved everything I saw with this. And don't get me wrong, there were times where I was like, oh, did Spider-Man like not get that? Or like, okay, Miles is just gonna be able to do that, like that. When you literally sit and you watch the story and you really watch the movie and you hear what they're going through, you hear the conversations from him, his parents, and what he's going through, what he's thinking, his worries. Like, there's a reason he's able to do these things, guys. Like, he's putting himself in every test. You know, I just feel like his character shows us that if you want it bad enough and you want to be something good and you want to be more good than bad, and you want to really just like take control and you know, and just conquer life, like, it's possible. Like, it's possible, guys. Like, it really is. And I love, like, I think that with this character is kind of where it's at. Like, there's a lot where when he's fighting Martin Lee, he's like, you know, he's having these thoughts and these talks about, like, even his dad. Like, bro, when I'll play a clip real quick.
Come on now. You're more than just Spider-Man. You can try and hide behind that mask, but I know who you are and what you stand for. I've been watching you.
You have?
And it hurts. What happened to the boy that I raised? You're a coward. Stain on our family.
You don't mean that!
I do. We all do. You're a failure, Miles. Always will be.
No! You never say that! None of you would! I'm not...
It's time to give up. Give up, Miles.
No.
Bro, when his dad starts talking down on him out of nowhere, like, you know what's gonna happen, but when he says that, bro, it's crazy. It is crazy. I loved that. Like, it was so cool, and he knows that they would never talk like that. Like, I feel like Martin Lee in that fight right there is literally why he's able to beat Peter at the end with the symbiote. Like, obviously he has electric, like, he has a lot of things going for him, right? I think there was the bell in the fight. They kind of weakened the symbiote. There was the powers that Miles has, the invisibility, which I don't think really like did too much, because I think when you go invisible, they just went after you anyway. But he had a lot of things going for him, but he still was gonna lose. Like, Miles was still gonna lose badly. But it was all of the negative that the man had learned from is like what pushed him to be able to do something so great. And he didn't do it alone, man. Like, Peter was there to help too. Like, it's not like he beat Peter, you know, with the black suit. It's like him and Peter beat the black suit. Like, that's what happened. So, S tier. I just rambled about that guy for way damn too long, but just S tier, guys. S tier, S tier, S tier.